All right, all right, all right. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Amuna. You don't know. And I pray everybody's doing well. We're going to jump into this sixth chapter of the evolution of a revolutionary. So, for those who just joined us, we have gone through a good amount of information thus far. We're reading the biography of Afeni Shakur, uh, written by Jasmine Guy, and um, she interviewed Afeni over a number of years, and then she collaboratively wrote this book. And there's so much interesting stuff that you're gonna have to go through the other five. No, actually six, because chapter five was cut in two. So where we are now, this is Tupac's mother, by the way, for those who are interested. So where we are now is chapter six. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. I still think she's jonesing for Lumumba. Um, hey, Queen T, what's going on? I still think that the way that thing went down, she possibly didn't get the closure that she needed, and that things have taken a turn. So that's where we are right now. Chapter six, one time story. Okay. I wake up. Let me put on my little computer glasses here. I wake up at 2 a.m. This is nothing new, as I'm an insomniac. I don't want to turn on my TV because it will awaken Afeni. So I tiptoe to the cabinet looking for green tea, honey, and Jiffy cream peanut butter. No wonder you're an insomniac. You drinking caffeine at 2 o'clock in the morning, Jasmine. That's why you can't go to sleep. But let's continue. That green tea, boy. Since I glanced towards the family room and I noticed Afeni sitting upright on the couch. I told y'all needed to tune in for this one. This one is about to be wild. Okay. Her face is towards the bay window, and I cannot tell if she is asleep or not. And my voice, boy, ever since I've been doing the children instruction, I have to talk so loud, my voice been getting kind of creaky. Hold on. Got my little lime here. I'm awake, she says without turning her head. What are you doing? I've never seen what are you contracted like that. That's interesting. What are you doing? Thinking, she says. I don't think that's good. I know how thinking too much can make you crazy. Want some tea, I ask? She shrugs, and I fix him some anyway. I weave around my boxes to get to the couch without spilling a drop. How was Ebony, I asked, knowing that I missed a fabulous show. Ebony's voice is rich and deep like the mahogany color of her skin. When she sings, you know she knows life, love and sorrow, and hard times and parties. Good, wonderful. She's just got me thinking. About what, I wonder, if Afeni wants to talk. Baltimore, she says, and her voice goes down. It sounds like she's dreaming or talking in her sleep. Everything changed in Baltimore. Everything, Afeni says, with the longing of a hungry child. Afeni, Afeni's everything spans 13 years across the bridge of prison to freedom. Through the love of birthing her baby boy, over the dunes of marrying her friend, Matulu, who gave her a daughter. And rest in peace and thoughts and prayers to his family because he just passed 2 days ago, 3 days ago, I think. So she marries. She didn't even really go all the way into that, but okay. Her friend Matulu, who gave her a daughter. Afeni's everything includes her important work as legal services, helping the disenfranchised and searching out the women and children abandoned by their panther mates. In those years, Afeni watches the men disappear underground, sail away to Africa, and get arrested. Afeni's everything encompassed the re-entry of Afeni to society, the thriving in her environment, and the slippery slide back down as Matula Shakur is arrested. Legal services lets her go, and Afeni loses her apartment. Sliding down to the bottom of the barrel, Afeni sees Baltimore as a new promise, a chance to start over. So in 1984, with 13-year-old Tupac and 7-year-old Sekiwa, In tow, Afeni takes off to another urban jungle in hopes of saving her life. That was, I mean, they moved through that one pretty quickly, but that was a lot to unpack. You know what I mean? Just to get to Baltimore. But first the Lumumba, then the men are here and there, and then you get with Matulu, who is the adopted brother of Lumumba, and then you have a daughter, and then he goes off and does what he does, and then you're trying to help people, but there's nobody there to help you. That's not a good feeling. Can never be a good feeling that you do so much in your work to try to help others, but when time comes for you to get help, there's nobody there. So she feels like Baltimore. Her mother went up the road. Now she going back down the road, right? It says the first 2 years in Baltimore were good. Afeni sounds dreamy, like I'm not even there. She twists her hair and stares out the window. A street lamp reflects a twinkle in the glaze of her eye. I didn't do drugs there. Baltimore was a heroin town, and her drug of choice was cocaine. So she just smoked weed in Baltimore. And she was just a mom for 2 years, for the first 2 years. She just took care of the kids, got them settled in school and all. She pictured Afeni packing Tupac and Sekiwa's lunch and being calm, just being a mother. Again, we don't know what she was doing because everybody's definition of being a mother is different, right? After she lost her job at legal services, when they let her go, she was lost. She loved that job. Mutulu, Sekiwa's father, had been helping all these Panthers in Algeria, Panthers underground, and she thinks that she lost her job because of her association with him. She says she had Sekiwa by now anyway, and if I'm saying her name wrong, please forgive, but I think that's how you say it. Sekiwa and Tupac. She lost her apartment and moved in with Glow and Tommy. So all of this revolutionary work from 1968 and all that has been like help loss. And the men, the leaders, the ones that are at the forefront, the ones who, putting together plans, they abscond, as she said before. They go to Africa, they go underground, they don't want to go to jail. Understandable. But the women are left to deal with the fallout, right? It says, but really, they had enough on their hands already. Glow had the idea about Baltimore. Sharon, my father's sister, her daughter, had an apartment in Baltimore and let us move in. And I saw that as a way to start over, she says. So she tried to turn her life around. She was just a mom. She went to school with Sekiwas, sat in on her class, went on field trips, and was on a PTA, right? Afeni is lost in this time of her life. Ebony's singing dug up memories clearly. She says that she was on welfare those first 2 years. Her second year, she requested to be put into a computer training program, and she went to computer school every day from 8 to 3. This is the first time Afeni speaks of Sekiwa as a little girl, and I see the love in her eyes. While Afeni talks, she also hears Set, all grown up, weaving her tale around her mother's. There is an unspoken honesty, sometimes easy, sometimes raw, that colors Afeni's stories. As Afeni tells her story, Jasmine says, I hear Sekiwa in my mind. I hear her song. It wails, moans, and murmurs through Afeni's voice. Sekiwas are dulcet tones in harmony with Afeni's round and grounded blues. I hear it like duet between mother and child. Because again, the mother is experiencing in one way, and the child who does not have that point of reference is experiencing it in a very different way. And, sometimes parents don't realize, the irrevocable damage that is done when the child is a very young age, you know what I mean? And doesn't have the vocabulary, the experience, or the wherewithal to understand what's going on. She says she moved to Baltimore for a better life, Afeni begins. Now she's weaving in Set's information. So she said, I hear Set's answer. We lived in Baltimore for 4 years. The first 2 years were the happiest for me. We had weekends over Aunt Sharon's. We had things to do, nothing political. We had noodles, and it was fun. It was regular people's life. It was, she says, she was on welfare for the first 2 years, but they were happy. She was isolated for the first time in her life, separated from Aunt Glo and her family. She was depressed, deeply depressed, I found out later. I didn't know how unhappy she was until later, but I was just a little kid. All my friends was and associates were gone, incarcerated, dead, underground. After Matula was arrested and jailed, they just laid low in Baltimore. So again, I have to weave in Billy Garland's story because he says that the last time he saw him, the reason why is because he didn't know where they went, and he heard they went to Baltimore, but he lost touch. That's what he said, right? So the block is hot, so they get out of the city and they go to Baltimore in hopes that things will be better, right? I went to private school in fourth and fifth grade, basically an all white school. I was one of three blacks there. They had a field trip to visit the FBI building, and I came home and told mom I didn't think I should go. I didn't go to school the day of the field trip, and sure enough, when I went to school the next day, the kids were like, "Oh, we saw your dad. You look just like him." That was when he was one of America's most wanted. They saw his picture on the poster. Set as a young person was more peaceful than peace. One day, her teacher called me up crying about Sekiwa. She said my daughter was too good for this world. She told my mother I wouldn't survive in this world. I was too sweet. And she cursed that teacher out. So this is Afeni now, because she says she cursed the B out. It was a cop out. There's no such thing. What are you saying? That she's a sweetheart, but she can't be protected? That's what I responded to. She ain't too good for Blink. She lives in this world. She's a sweetie pie. She's gonna hurt. I know what that teacher was saying. She was saying Set wouldn't survive. And my response was that she would. I was like, Blink you. She's my baby. I'll protect her. I don't think she wanted to change who I was, but she wanted to give me strength, backbone, even if I didn't use it. I could use it if I needed it, and eventually I did. When I needed it, I was able to dig down to the lessons that my mother taught me. She told me pain is given, suffering is optional. Set's rage came later. She was dangerous when in rage. She would take it across the line. So this whole family got rage problems, eh? She never knew what danger what she was in. It's so complex. She was a banshee, uncontrollable. She sought to hurt. I remember her and Pac in the living room talking, and I would just listen. Lessons. Give me 1 second. 1 second, peoples. Little ones be getting riled up. Where am I? So yeah, the sister now, the sweetie pie, she had rage problems too. It says here, I remember her and Pop in the living room talking, and I would just listen about my period even or cleaning, independence or whatever. I got it like that through her talking to Pac. I guess I wasn't old enough, but by the time I did go through puberty, she was unavailable. So back the way she wrote this, okay. So whatever I learned from her telling Pac is what I had to go on. She explained stuff to him about a girl that he was seeing or having sex with, and I picked up information about myself through conversations she had with him. What you have to give your child is their rage. What you have to give your child is their rage, and they have to get themselves through it. And you need to be there to help if you can. I was not there for Sekiwa. I abandoned her at a time she needed a mother as she was becoming a woman. So again, this is back to Feeney. So she's jumping in between the conversation. So what I'm getting basically is that, like saying, the mother wasn't there and that she just learned, she picked things up along the way. Right. One time Tupac was getting picked on at school about his clothes or not being flashy enough. And my mom was trying to teach him that he was more valuable and he wasn't into flash. She told him that he was more valuable and he was of good quality, and he didn't judge things by their covers, but by their value. Then she said if there was a crumpled up $100 bill and three shiny pennies, she would pick up the shiny pennies. And you, Tupac, would take the crumpled up bill because you, Tupac, know your value. Even at 8, I knew that was an insult. And it wasn't true, my personality, but that stuck with me. Oh, wait a minute. No. So the mother's saying to her that if there was a crumpled up $100 bill and 3 pennies, Set would pick up the shiny pennies and Tupac would pick up the bills. Okay, you was over there being a mother. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me get this thing. 1 second, peoples. My apologies once again. This computer is about to die. All right, we got the plug, peoples. Let's see. Make sure it's all plugged up. We have the plug. All right, let's go. So the mother, she's saying that at 8, she knew her mother was trying to shade her. Parents don't realize, boy. Okay, where we at? But then again, Mom Dukes was over there possibly taking. I looked up that sunshine pill that she said she was taking. That's a LSD pill back in the 60s and 70s. So my question was she popping pills? She said it when she was in court. Was she popping pills when she was pregnant with Tupac? Like, that's interesting, but I'll continue. I don't want to digress. Anyway, all I ever had was my brain. So with my son, who was my first and only child for 4 years, with my son right at the beginning, it was important to me that he and I communicate. She always told us that what was going on. She was upfront about her situation. She hadn't had a boyfriend since I was, 3. And she said if she was going to bring someone around us, it would be someone who could help us, someone we could grow from, and he wasn't. My cousin was a Muslim, and he introduces me to this guy from the mosque. Who's talking? She switched on me. Is it Set talking or it gotta be Set talking. So let's continue. Okay, he was nice. We were cool, and huh? And the sex was real good. So we kind of had a relationship. The dude from the mosque, what in all of the nation of Islam is going on here? He was a splinter that broke everything. I was working at night. I had a bank card. Money came up missing. I also discovered he was snorting heroin. So this has to be Afeni talking. Okay. My cousin was a Muslim and he introduces me to this guy from the mosque. So she over there doing the booty with the Muslim from the mosque. I thought, anyway, let me continue. Money came up missing. I also discovered he was snorting heroin in my basement. I told him he had to leave because I got kids. When she let him in, okay, so this was a real betrayal, like the drugs, because she always told us she would never do that. So Mom Dude started letting in questionable characters. I told him, look, you're getting the blink out of my house, and I must have known I was getting older and couldn't do this crazy stuff no more. I went to the phone to call 911, and he slapped the phone out the wall and punched her in the face 5 times in succession. Then he went out the back door. Where is she getting these people from? That started me not wanting to be at work. Everybody saw my eyes and they knew, but I still went to work. Wait a minute. No, this is Set talking. Help me. They might confuse me. The way this thing right is confusing. I'm just gonna keep going. We'll find out who. My mother was a proud panther, the strongest. You don't get beat down like that. Okay, this got to be Set talking. So then she ends up getting boxed by some dude who was off. Okay, Tupac wanted to beat his with his behind, and I made him promise not to beat up the man. Tupac was 16 at this time and never forgave me for not letting him protect me, like I allowed that man to do. that to me, but I didn't allow him to handle it. No, this is Afeni talking. Set was living in California by now, so at least she didn't have to see me with two black eyes. Right, that's the mother talking. So the mother is letting all of these people in, and they violating her, and the son is there and he's witnessing. Okay. Afeni has stopped talking, and I don't know how long it has been quiet. My mind spinning with Shakur woman's stories. I'm gonna tell you something just once, Afeni says, still facing the window. Her eyes sparkle in the pill of the street lights. When I say pill, I'm bugging. Her eyes sparkle in the spill of the street light. Since we are writing a book and all, I can't rightfully leave this out. Bro, you just skipped all the way over Matulu, bro. Like you're leaving out a lot of stuff. We've never heard Billy Garland's whole name. Like, but anyway, but I'm telling this story one time, then I don't want to talk about it again. Okay, I agree. My dread rising. I kind of just want to watch a bad movie or a good infomercial right now and try to go back to sleep. Oh yeah, because it's 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And you over there drinking green tea. Somehow I know after this tale is told, I'll be up for the rest of the night. Like somebody gonna say, I'm gonna tell you this one time. Yeah, I'll be shooketh too. Shooketh. I wait for Afeni to light up her Newport. Yo, the contact smoke is serious, boy, and finish her one-time story. What can be so bad, I wonder, with all Afeni's been through? What can still hurt her so much? Afeni lights up and walks around looking for her makeshift ashtray I threw out hours ago. Where's the Coke can, she asks. Use this, I give her a real ashtray, bright red from Atlantic City. I don't know who gave me this, but I'm not packing it. She sits Indian style on the floor facing me. She sounds steady at first, like she's retelling an old tale. The last 2 years in Baltimore were not good. I had sent the kids to California, to Marin City, to stay with a friend named Ashanti, Cochise's wife. The plan was for Tupac to get his math credits so he could graduate on time. Baltimore School of Arts had messed up and not told us that he was delinquent in his math credits. So we find out late that he can't graduate with his friends. Now I understand that Tupac and Jada were great assets to their fundraising efforts because they could perform. So it wasn't in the school's best interest to tell me that Tupac may not graduate on time. You hear me? I nod yes. If he stayed another year, it benefits them. But I should have been more involved despite their efforts to keep me out the loop. I know what Afeni's talking about. I went to a performing arts school too. Good performers, like good athletes, become mascots for their school, despite their credits, grades, or credentials they need to graduate. Afeni continues. Anyway, Seth had been at Ashanti's over the summer and was going to school, and everything was cool, or so I thought. Meanwhile, I was saving money in Baltimore so Tupac and I could join her in like 6 months. Afeni shakes her head like, ain't life a bee? Well, one day in October, she calls me at work and tells me I better come get the kids because she's going into rehab and her children and mine will be placed in foster care if I don't come out here immediately. What the? You sent the child to the lady and the lady. Anyway, let's continue, shall we? Well, I wasn't ready to go out there. I didn't have money, but hey, I had to go. That was my first clue. That conversation with Ashanti as to what alcoholism really was. I knew Ashanti drank, but I never associated nothing bad with it because everybody I knew drank. She made me understand before that call was over that that alcoholism was all about because she was desperate and crazed, and I knew she was out of control. I gave my stuff away to anybody who wanted it, packed the rest of my stuff up in two big suitcases, and took a bus to Marin City. Before I got to Ashanti's neighborhood, the bus broke down beneath an underpass. So she had to take a cab the rest of the way. She says when she got to Ashanti's apartment, Afeni proceeds, everybody was gone, but there was a note on the door from Seth. It took me days to get to California, and Ashanti just left the kids with a neighbor. Seth had sense enough to tell me where they were in her note. That's crazy. Ashanti's neighbor helped me to get in Ashanti's apartment, helped me to get situated and bring some normalcy back to their lives. They all loved Set and told me how sweet she was. A cloud passed over Afeni's eyes and she's dark. This is when I heard horror stories. I found out how much my kids had endured, about how Ashanti would be drunk and look over at Tupac and just curse him out. All that bitterness, that resentment, she would spit out at Tupac like he was her man. And Set got it every day, the screaming, the cursing. There was nothing she could do right. Ashanti was mean, hateful, drunk. She'd black out anywhere, legs open, mouth open, anywhere. Passed out for hours. When she came to, she didn't remember spit. My kids could not forgive her for that, for what she had done. She had said. Afeni shakes her head slowly back and forth. Then she resumes. My dilemma at the time, as their mother, was that Set hated Ashanti. She said it. She meant it, and in due respect to Set's feelings, I believe she did. She cannot stay in a person's home you despise, so they had to get up out of there. You can't hate somebody and live off them too. So another move. I need some coffee. This cold, weak tea isn't doing it for me. Afeni goes on to explain that Tupac stayed with some of his friends while she applied for a hardship case apartment and got one within a few months. So this is the whole Marin City conversation. The whole what's the name of the lady? I forget the name of the lady. Her name escapes me. But this is that whole conversation. This is the video you see floating around the time period when he's going to school and he's a senior, trying to get the last of his credits. Like this is all that period of time. So there's a lot of stuff happening at the same time. In addition to all the stuff that has been happening since he was born. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot in a short period of time. He says, I'm thinking about how much a difference it would have made if there were daddies around. I am not going to comment. I'm just going to keep. What would their life have been like had Matulu been there for them in Baltimore? Instead, Matulu Shakur, Set's daddy, is in jail. And he ended up spending 36 years, and they just let him out because he was terminally ill. And again, like I said, he passed a few days ago. Tupac is 16 years old, and Matulu is the only father he has ever known, though Matulu is not his biological father. Tupac does not know who the sperm donor is and only relates to the men in his life who are there for him and his mother. So again, this is Jasmine Guy speaking based on what, even though Afeni would have to sign off, this is the impression that she gave her. Whether or not she told her something off record, on record, she did not give the full information about where the belly came from. Right? So when you leave out these pertinent details, then it will lead somebody to be like, who could have been so wicked? But that's why I'm saying the story is not all the way adding up. So when Billy was over there, like, oh, she called her a sperm donor, as we can see, this is Jasmine Guy putting this, synthesizing this, like, where are the daddies? You understand? Anyway. So it's just you, Afeni, I asked. Everybody's gone. Where's Glow? Where are your friends? Why are you alone? She seems angry again, like I don't understand, but I understand all right. I hear meanings insinuate themselves between the lines. Afeni doesn't want to come right out and acknowledge. I hear the drone of her missing sister. Glow's in New York and Tupac's grown. He's doing his thing and he's serious about it. He ain't grown. What, he's 60 years old? He's not grown. Afeni puts out her cigarette and uncrosses her legs. Her stretched out posture lets me know we are about to go into the next chapter. She has taken time to bring me up to speed. Now she's ready to tell me some stuff. We are not up to speed, but we could keep going anyway, okay? Sorry. Cochise would tell Set that he wanted me to meet Hassan, one of his jail buddies, when I came to town. Finally, I did. So Cochise is, what's the name of the lady, the drinking lady? I forgot that quick. What's the name of the drunken lady again? Ashanti. So Cochise is a man for Ashanti, and he's sending a message that some dude named Hassan, his jail homie, like, yeah, 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 tell your moms when she come through that I got a dude in jail who's trying to holler. Like, what kind of conversation is that? And why are you sending that with the little one? Anyway, um, oh, blind date, I mumble facetiously, referring to his whack reality based TV show in LA that hooks utter strangers up in the most conspicuous sites and expects them to do the nasty. Afeni ignores me. She knows I can't relate, and she knows I'm a smart behind. She doesn't have time for my sarcasm right now. She has to tell us a story to tell. I talked to Hassan on the phone, one of those collect prison calls. Then, whenever I would visit Cochise, I would hook up with Hassan too. Why is she visiting Cochise? Anyway, let me continue. Cochise was my friend, she says. Okay, she just told me. I loved him. He's a godfather to my kids. So just me hooking up with Cochise was also a favor to Coach. No, for me hooking up with Hassan was also a favor to Cochise. Sometimes when we do not have a right compass, we think that we owe people things that we really don't owe them. Like Cochise, your children were abused in his home. You sent him to the lady and they abused. You know what I'm saying? Why are you hollering at the prison guy? And anyway, ironically, that my one experience at jail was visiting Tupac at Dannemore prison on September the 2nd, 1995. Back to this September date. Them and their September dates, boy. It was dreary and dreadful. Oh, this is Jasmine talking. Unlike me, the other visitors knew exactly what to do and exactly what to expect. I only went because he asked me to. He told his mom he wanted me to visit him, but for myself, that was an experience I could have done without. I knew after seeing Tupac in there that he would not last long incarcerated. He was a wild stallion just playing the game for a little while before he cut loose. Afeni cuts my painful memory short. Hassan wrote me love letters. Hassan had time. Okay. I remember that. Afeni goes on about her newfound companion. See, even Hassan gets named. Hassan even gets a name. He's over there writing love letters. Mm-mm. I went to visit him around Thanksgiving. Then I kept going back to see him. And one visit, he keeps begging for the front. I'm going to just see for the front. Okay. Hold on 1 second. It's about to get, this is where the story is about to get crazy, peoples. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. All right. All right. Sorry about that. And okay, so he's begging for the front. Is this reminiscent? Life is cyclical. Okay, so she's visiting him in jail. She has a jail interest now. Maybe this was familiar to her because the same thing happened. Let's see, about 20 years earlier, when she is on bail, not in much of a better position, but her king Lumumba, he's in jail, and what is he doing? Begging for the front. Okay, so now 20 years later, this same situation comes around again. All right, so this guy Hassan is, she feels she owes Cochise some type of favor. She's talking up to Hassan, and Hassan is begging her for front, like they all do. And I always said no. Okay, so remember she was adamant before when Lumumba was like, oh, because she's like, that's some plantation stuff, that's some beast stuff. Who would want to do that? And I agree. But this time, for whatever reason, she said, but this time, for some reason, where did it go? I would hook up with no. For some reason, she says, when Afeni says one time, I'm riveted. I knew this is the beginning of the one time story she promised to tell. He looks at me and he was tall and fine, beautiful young brother. That reminds me of what Billy Garland would have looked like. Okay. Because at that time he was a basketball player. He was tall. If you look at him now, you can see he was handsome. So she may have been having an energetic flashback. Just like the one time she we don't know what happened with him and the rubbing of the belly, but we see where her mind is at with this Hassan character. Okay. This is how you connect the dots with Solonomics, people. So when Afeni says once, okay, boom, boom, boom. He says, she says, he looks at me and he was tall and fine, beautiful young brother. And Billy Garland was younger than Afeni was too at the time. He tells her, go into the bathroom, he says. You go first and I'll go come in right behind you. And for some reason, I did it. We were in the bathroom for all of 5 seconds, long enough for her to pull her pants down and for him to stick in and pump up and down. So you use real graphic there. And that was it. I see Afeni leaning on the cold white sink of the penitentiary restroom. Okay, we don't need the visual. Dirty towels at her feet, balls of brown paper, I guess, on the floor, right? She says, I watch, quote, her man. Why? Jasmine, too much, too much. She's probably thought, just get it over with. We can all detach from a despicable situation for a few moments, even without drugs. And guess what? Afeni glares at me. Her lips are tight, but her eyes still glisten in the streetlight. Can y'all guess what in the comment section? Can anybody guess what happened here? She got pregnant. Yeah, she got pregnant. I'm staggered by her revelation. Still, I try to work the math to compute how old Afeni is by now. Tupac is 16. Set is 12. She must be 39 or 40. Here I am trying to save the day, getting my kids situated, and Ashanti's children too, settling into my subsidized apartment, and she finds out that she's pregnant. And when she told Hassan, he was ecstatic, like, yippee, we're going to have a baby. Hassan, what you going to do in jail with a baby? Afeni is lost in the awe of how ludicrous this all was. He asked her to marry him, gave her a ring he made up in the jail's metal shop. I can't with Hassan right now. Her daughter took that ring and wore it for a long time before she snatched it back so no one could see it or know about it. I see young Set trying to have a daddy, trying to handpick someone nice for her mom, someone for her family that won't get in the way. I can understand young Set. She was trying to fix things. She says she got swept in that. She took the blood test. He had the papers drawn up for the name change. He had his lawyer bring her some money to buy stuff, furniture, a phone for the new apartment. He also had her bringing him drugs into the prison. That really bothered me, she says. She found out later that's what it was really for, but it really blinked with her even then. So he finessed her, basically, so that she could be his mule, which is interesting because later on her son gets in jail, and there's some say that he married the woman I forgot her name, when he was in jail, but never consummated it because he wanted to be able to have someone to visit him. So to a certain degree, the storyline is the son finessed a woman as well while he was in jail. But let's continue. The circle continues. Because you know better, I say. You knew the game. She was being used. I reluctantly hear this life lesson. If Afeni can be used, anyone can be used. Because there's no stupid woman, and this woman has street smarts, life experience, but she has emotional vulnerabilities. She has daddy issues. So he hit her in the area that she was vulnerable. Okay. She had been on drugs and in recovery, worked 9 to 5, been on welfare. She got a boy child and a girl child. She's been in prison. What does this boy Hassan know that Afeni doesn't? It's not about knowing, it's about feeling. It's what did he make her feel? Remember, of all the men before, the one she really loved, which is The one she claimed she loved back in high school slapped her. Um, the one she loved, her king, you know what I mean? They fell out on bad terms. Mutulu is on the run. The other Muslim dude is they're beating her up. You feel me? And so it's whatever this guy made her feel that made her susceptible. So this is not about intellect, basically. So what does this boy Hassan know that Afeni doesn't know? And that's what hurts the most. Nothing, not a GD thing. Mickey Howard's seemingly benign song runs through my head. Ain't nobody like you. I've been up and I've been down. Afeni keeps talking. I had my feet swept off the ground. Cochise had a visiting day. I went really to see Hassan, but somebody who just picked me up and Cochise blocked the door. And when I got to the visiting room, blocked me from going in because Hassan was in there with a visit from his other woman by somebody who just picked me up and threw me away. His other woman, who really was his real woman, sorry, and Cochise knew all the time. So the friend that you felt loyal to, the friend that who you felt compelled to do him a favor, do him a solid, picked you and used you. And Cochise knew all the time, knew all along, and he treated her like a piece of blink. She's I okay. I think she's quoting the song in between. I've been rich and I've been poor. I had boys in and out my door. She says that's a song. Like a bee on the street, Cochise was blocking me from seeing the truth, and I didn't forgive him for that for a long time. In fact, it took the kids, me and Ashanti's kids, for me to forgive Cochise. Afeni starts to cry, and I say, Afeni, we've all been used. You ain't the only smart little bee that someone used up for their own designs. I know, she chokes out. But this was the only thing I said I would never do. Blink a man behind bars, and I did. Remember, that's part of what made her, I mean, to a certain degree, among other things, her relationship fall apart. She said she didn't do it, and when she went outside, she did it, and then her whole, you know what I mean? And it was raining that day, very hard. I took a cab back from San Quentin, she says. It cost her 20-something dollars. The tears, the snot dripped down her face. So you know that one hurt her deep. That one hurt her deep. Mm-mm-mm. But it's not done, peoples. And that was me crying in the rain like the stupid bee she says that she was. Afeni blows her nose in a tissue. Learn not to pack up my Kleenex boxes, but keep them close to Afeni. There's nothing worse than being played by a ninja in jail. All I could think was, you're a stupid bee about the stupidest bee that ever lived. And she believed it. She realized now that this is really the first time Afeni really believes she's Blink. Or not when that boy from her school, Byron Cohen, called her a creature from another planet. Not when her daddy beat her mama's behind. Not when white boys call her a bald-headed black bee. Not when the police broke her door down and stuck a gun in her face. But this day, and the days and months after, when she carried her plantation baby, slowly killed her spirit. What happened after that was she hated herself bad, and all she wanted was an abortion. The first time she went for an abortion, they discovered her fibroids were sitting too big and in a place where they didn't feel safe doing an abortion. They didn't want to do it there. She was 3 months pregnant. They sent her to a different office, and that upset her greatly. Remember what she said concerning Tupac. If she thought she was going to be free, she said the possibility was that she would have aborted him. But because she thought she was going to jail, she wanted to make sure that a piece of her was still left back. So with this child, she ends up with the quote plantation baby, and now she wants to abort the child when she realizes she's getting played. You just wanted it over with, she says. 2 strokes, she says, and she got to deal with this Blink for the rest of her life. How is that fair? She can't answer Afeni, as she's a bit surprised at how torn she is about having an abortion. She thought she would have done it immediately once reality kicked in. Her age, her finances, her lack of support, her inability to care for another child. Why was she even going through the motions? I want to shake her the way she shakes sense into hysterical I mean, usage sentences to hysterical people. Before I can do so, she continues. She says that she was crazy. Could I have been thinking right in any way? She says she waited so late because that's when she found that Blink MF with his other woman, his real woman. Afeni tosses this, so she was in her feelings, basically. In her feelings. Afeni tosses the next line in to me in a sober, hard tone. She was pregnant too, by the way. Oh, snappies. Oh, snappies. Again, life has a way of coming back around because remember, when she went into Lumumba's situation, there was Shaida. Shaida was already there. And actually, when she went in, Shaida was pregnant, according to the calculations. But she was flaunting um, herself with the man in front of Shaida. So that energy comes back. That's why we must be careful. We must be careful. Okay. So anywho, that's why she, according to her, that's why she waited so long. Let's see here, where are we? So two of them have belly now. What is going on? Why a man in jail? There are so few men. It's not good for us to pretend that the statistics don't a lot affect us, individual woman. Is she doing the Kevin Samuels in the middle of this conversation? Sister Soldier talks about this so well. All of the black women as a whole suffer from not having a man, not just me. I thought it was because I had short hair or I was dark, you know. That's what you go back to. I wanted it to be that reason, but the real reason is there aren't many men. Um, I don't know. I'll just leave that one and keep going. Afeni goes on. So nobody would give her a blinking abortion, she says. One doctor passed her to someone else. Then maybe because you're like 5 months pregnant, fam. Anyway, then she'd be waiting, you know. These are clinics and nobody wants to do it. And now she's 5 months and desperate. She's so rebellious with God, she can't make peace with this. 5 months. She thinks about one of her close friends losing her baby at 5 months. The heartache, the miscarriage, the formed fetus with dark hair and a button nose. She named her baby Camille. So, you hear this? I hope y'all are ready for this one. So, she tried to kill the baby herself. Fam, I know this is YouTube, and a lot of people would just sensationalize just events. But I think the value in reading this story in its entirety is just to see the progression of the mind. So and she was well aware that she was trying to off this baby and trying to get somebody else to do it. And when no one else wanted to do it, when she did not want to take the responsibility for the life she created, even if it was 2 strokes, she decided to take matters into her own hands. She says she knew from her work at legal services that crack kills babies. I couldn't believe when I read this. I'm like, yo, son, I can't believe what I'm reading. So she started smoking crack. So the whole, even though you was a crack fiend mama, what in the world? Is it the cocaine? So from her work as a legal service aide, she knew that crack killed babies. So is this how you became a crackhead? You started smoking crack to try to get rid of your baby, fam? She says, this is not me. She says, Jasmine Guy would be a good person to interview about this interview. Every day, 24/7. She says that she would get high. That's why I said she may have been popping pills. This may not have been the first time. What is going on? Every day, 24/7. She would get high and she'd feel the baby kick. I have to pause at this moment, yo. My mother actually works as a social worker and has to deal with mothers who are on drugs and knowingly take drugs while they're heavily pregnant, and to deal with the after effects of having children that are addicted to substances. And Afeni at this point is saying that she's well aware. And for this reason, she started smoking crack. Like, when I hear some of these stories, like in real time, I can't fathom it. Like, I can't wrap my mind around it. And to read this, it's like, what? Anyway, right in the beginning, she'd feel it kick. It she says she wouldn't just keep smoke she would just keep smoking until it stopped kicking. And she's calling the baby an it so as not to give it any to distance herself from the reality that it's a being, bro. No sir. No sir. How long I've never heard him no sir. I think there's a line that Tupac does in the Dear Mama. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that line because I think there's a line that is related to this. I'm gonna keep reading. She says, so when she would feel the baby kick, according to her, she would continue to smoke crack. But the baby wouldn't die. What the box side? And she wouldn't miscarriage. She hated the baby and hated herself for hating that baby. So much hate. She says, my throat is tight, my words are dry. So much hate. The night comes to a steel blue color as the sun tries to rise. So this is the one-time story. This is the one-time story that she's telling. This is the one, among other things, this is the one that's sitting with her. It says, did you call Glow? Glow was freaking out. She was scared I was too far gone in the pregnancy. She offered to keep the baby. Afeni stares at the grand piano. Now I'm saying, like, if you were trying to give Tupac to Glow, why wouldn't you just have this baby? Even though she may have had other children. I mean, what? I mean, man, I'm confused. That Afeni stares at my grand piano, even though it's clear that she doesn't see it. But I know at a certain point I'd have to see that baby again, even if Glow kept it. So I told her no. She didn't want me to be alone. She knew I was going to blink that baby no matter what she said. What? What in the world? She finally found a doctor that would, but she didn't want me to be alone, so asked a neighbor, an older woman next door, to take her to our appointments. Back then, it was 2-day procedure because she was 5 months. They did ultrasounds and actually saw that baby. Keep calling it that baby, it. You know what I mean? She was long-legged in the womb. She was going to be tall. Jasmine says that she tries not to cry too loud so Afeni can remember in peace, but she feels a sob breakthrough from her gut. I mean, right now I'm feeling like for all discarded babies, the ones in the dumpsters, the one on the curb, the ones that live only to be beaten and burned by cigarette butts and dumped in the alley. Please make this story be over. Like this story got me feeling sick. She says she continues. She was anemic. They gave her iron pills and told her to take the maximum overnight. And when she went back, her black blood count was just high enough. Ashanti took her the last day. Wait, Ashanti come out of rehab? What up? The woman who was taking her to the other appointment said she couldn't take her no more. She said God was trying to tell her something. Ashanti, on the other hand, was drunk. She could barely walk, but she took her to the abortion. She stayed up all night before. She doesn't know how she made it. I thought she was in rehab or something. But even in her drunken stupor, Ashanti knew that she had to go. When they put the needle in her stomach before they knocked her out, she had labor pains and she had to deliver the baby. The needle was to stop the heartbeat of the fetus. Help us now. Mm-mm. A big long needle stuck in the belly. She knows what she did and she takes responsibility. She saw the baby. I'm not saying I for any of this. So if you read the story, you'll be like, Amuna's reading it weird. Yeah, no, I'm not putting none of this on me. She took responsibility for that. It was bad, and the baby died, and she was hooked on crack. So this whole, even though you was a crack fiend, she gets hooked on crack from trying to kill her baby, fam. Yeah. Um, yeah. So let me finish this out. I'm listening to Feeney. I put my hand over hers as she struggles to spit the next part out. She says she had to tell her children that she was pregnant from this man in prison, and that was the most humiliating thing because how could she get pregnant from him? You see how her life was so cyclical? First, it was how could you get pregnant when the husband is in prison? And then it's how could you get pregnant from a man in prison? Her life was very like karma for whatever this lifetime she had to, that joint was like ba-ra-ta-ta-ta-ta. It was like it's the exact opposite. How, you were gonna kill this baby, but the first one, but then you keep him to have a part of you, and then the one that you do conceive, down you killed that one because you did. It's crazy. Let me continue. She had to tell the children that it was humiliating because how could she be pregnant from him? You had to visualize how she got pregnant. All the important things to her she had destroyed. There are that many men, and the ones in prison say the right things. There's a whole business in prison with men who know how to do it. They write letters for you. Hassan used to write letters for men. It has nothing to do with normal relationships, love, and all that. Nothing to do with that. Everything to do with survival. She I feel like it's happening all over again for the Feeney. Right now, in the apartment, in the spill of the streetlight, in the rise of the sun, in the shadows cast by the towers of boxes in the living room, quiet dawn surrounds us, and she keeps silent until Afeni's breath deepens. She is asleep. Time goes by, maybe an hour, because the garbage trucks clank outside of the morning pickup. She's tired and swollen from crying so much. She has told her story one time, the story that changed the course of her life forever. Now it's time to be still and let the baby rest. That is chapter six. Chapter six is wow. I've never heard that until I read this book. Let me know if you've heard that. Even though we saw this dear mama, when I read that, I was like, wait a minute. That and when she said she told her children, I think this is the line that indicates he was aware. Hold on one second. I could be wrong. History, it's history, and you have to include all of it. Although like I said, there's still some selective things, but that way in which she described Hassan, to me, it indicates how she would have possibly thought of Billy Garland. And because she didn't necessarily have the highest esteem for herself and how she looked, the fact that a man tall and handsome wanted her, she may have been just as susceptible to Billy as she was to Hassan. And that's how she ended up with both of them, these children, right? Let's see here. What is the song? No, no. What is the song? Is it Keep Your Head Up? There was a song that there was a line in a song that his mother, something to his mother, and hold on. Give me 1 minute. I read this the other day, but is it Keep Your Head Up? No, there's a line in the song where he talks about his mother. Um, he blamed his mother for turning his brother into a crack baby. Well, he wouldn't know if it was a. She said it was a girl, but that was the line. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, it's Keep Your Head Up. It's Keep Your Head Up. So let's go over there. And her saying that she told them, she had to tell them, and this is the one person who the confusion was setting greatly. You know what I mean? The confusion was setting greatly. It's Keep Your Head Up. Let me see. Here it is. It is. Hold on. Where did it go? Here. He says in the latter part of the song, I blame my mother for turning my brother into a crack baby. He says that he ain't meant to survive because it's a setup, and even though you're fed up, keep your head up. Okay, he put it in the song. It's a real thing. It wasn't a boy though, according to her, it was a little girl. But literally, that's how she got hooked on crack, trying to kill her child. I'm just let's just read the latter part of what Jasmine was asking. To all the ladies having babies on their own, I know it's kind of rough and you're feeling all alone. Daddy's long gone and he left you by your lonesome. And this is one a lot of people say that was around him said he didn't want any children. It could be possibly, at the time that he was what he experienced. Thank the Lord for my kids, even if nobody else wants them. Left you all by yourself. Because I think we can't make it. And in fact, I'm sure. And if you fall, stand tall and come back for more. Because ain't nothing worse than when your son wants to know why his daddy don't love him no more. Hell of a hand without a man feeling helpless because there's too many things for you to deal with, dying inside, but outside, you're looking fearless. While the tears are rolling down your cheeks, you're steady hoping things don't all down this week. Because if it did, you couldn't take it. And don't blame me. I was given this world. I didn't make it. And it goes on. But that line right there, it just opens up a whole conversation about her being transparent, but also kind of trauma dumping on these children that you weren't there for, that don't have the tools to deal with the stuff that you're saying to them. Um, and they themselves need things. This is just compounded, It's just exponential wild. So for those who just joined us, you just missed chapter 6, and you're gonna have to listen to that on the replay because that stuff is heavy right there. Essentially, that's how his mother got addicted to crack, according to her testimony. And like I said, she saw her friend do it, her friend Sandra, when she was 18. Okay. She entertained abortion. She wanted to abort Tupac, but didn't. Um, and now she gets impregnated for this man in jail and tries to kill the baby by taking crack. I don't know what to say about all this, y'all. I'm gonna just have to. Mm-mm-mm. If you have anything to say, let me know. I'm just gonna drop this in the box real quick, and then we'll come back and talk about chapter 7 after we read it. So, if you have anything to say, this is the link right here. I know a lot of people say you can't judge; you're not in the person's position, but the drug use started early. So from her drinking Thunderbird as a teenager, smoking, snorting, the drug use was all throughout from her teenage years going straight up. So coming to a point where you possibly was taking LSD while you was first pregnant with Tupac, and then telling us that you knowingly was taking crack to kill your baby, fam. What in the world? Like, did anybody further explore this part? I know it used to be somebody like, this is a one-time story, but did you ask any further questions? Like, what was you thinking? What were you thinking, bro? Anywho, that is chapter 6. I don't see anybody clicking or coming through. So I'm going to go ahead and boogie, and we'll come back again. That's sad. That's sad. So he would have known. And so in a lot of spaces, he was protecting his mother, even though he was telling his truth. He was doing it in a way that some would say, he was protecting her and not fully blasting her but saying it where it felt like he wasn't talking about her, but he was talking about her. He blames his mother for turning his brother into a crack baby. Wow. Anywho, with that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm a salat on that one. And we'll come back again and continue this story.